emerging. In fact, acceptance, self-acceptance is a sub aspect of another larger S, which is what we will be looking at today. Okay, so here's what the definition says, you know, very beautifully, that self-acceptance is you can read that is defined as an individual's acceptance of all of his and her attributes, positive or negative. So what are those attributes? What do I mean by all of his or her attributes? What do you mean by that? Positive or negative? What do you mean by, what are all the things that come under one's attributes? What could be those things that comes under one's attributes? So, you know, what it is leading to, you can type it in there, and what it is leading it to is that so normal levels of approval, you know, does not really, so if you just say, hey, good, you've done a good job or whatever, that's not enough for the person. If you lead to the negative aspect of it, normal levels of approval is not enough to move the needle of self-esteem. So in fact, and which means there are huge sort of gaps here. I'm going to be talking a lot about the gaps today. Okay, so the gaps are about you. It is linked to body. It is linked to various levels of. So when I'm talking about attributes, it could be the physical body, the way you look. Okay, that could be one of the biggest attributes that leads to low self-acceptance and therefore low self-esteem. Self-acceptance is directly connected to self-esteem, and you will see that. I'm just getting into that in the next slide. So what we're talking about is body acceptance, self-protection, and negative criticism. Again, it goes back to inner critique. If you remember, we spoke about inner critique. So there is a lot of this happening in you. Bodily, you are not accepting yourself. You're not very much, protecting yourself much, or you do not have the means of ways or you do not know probably means and ways of doing it. Okay, so self-protection aspect is low. So you tend to therefore feel very vulnerable. Feeling vulnerable is okay. You know, as a leader, you're expected to feel vulnerable, but when you're talking about, you need to have a level of confidence also to feel vulnerable and okay about feeling vulnerable, isn't it? I have gone through this in my life. I mean, when there are times when over a period of time is when I have now feel quite, internally stable. There were times when I used to take comments very personally, and feel very vulnerable because I wouldn't know how to protect myself, especially during school days and things like that. There are those people who are very sportive, and I would not be, I wouldn't know how to really be as sportive. I mean, over a period of time, I learned from that. I mean, I remember those friends today, and I actually, they really taught me how to be sportive, right? So what I'm trying to say is, those days, ordinary levels of approval did not really help me. I needed more people. I needed more attention, and people had to keep telling me, you're doing okay, you're doing fine. And there is a lot of things going on inside. Bodily, I was okay, but self-protection, negative criticism, a lot of it going on in my mind, right? So having said that, now self-acceptance is actually a sub aspect of self-esteem, and there are other two things linked to it. Meaning, if these are all very strongly interlinked, acceptance, identity, and confidence. And I'm going to be taking all the three things separately. Acceptance and self-esteem, anyway, is there is a direct linkage, because what we're talking about is body acceptance, as I said, self-protection, and also negative criticism. And we have already spoken about negative criticism or inner critique, so I'm not dwelling deeper into that, right? But what I'm going to be therefore taking into consideration today, and to look into sort of a deep dive into, is the self-esteem part. Okay, so as usual, we need to first look at the definition of self-esteem. Now, As I said, this whole challenge is a combination of theory and practice, right? So the theory helps us know what it is, and the practice at the end of it will make us do certain actions to help us understand the theory. I mean, that's how I mean, I learn. And if it is if it's difficult for you, or if you're not able to understand it's too much, just let me know. We can see how else we can make it understandable for you. But self-esteem is how we value and perceive ourselves. Okay. And when we are talking about how we value and perceive ourselves, what hap- the this can happen suddenly. Your self-esteem might just change suddenly at a point of time, just based on a single comment given by some person somewhere, saying something in a group situation that you are in. And everything here I'm linking it to social situations, because self-reliance is about being able to voice your opinion irrespective of social norms. So everything that we are speaking about, if you look at it, is somewhere linked to how do we deal with ourselves so that we are able to voice our opinions, yeah, irrespective of social norms. So it can, this particular self-esteem can suddenly happen to you, okay, because of whatever comment or something, saying something, someone to somebody or to you, right? Or you might have already had a low self-esteem for a while, and just that little thing has triggered you to sort of getting into that zone of feeling really low about yourself. And it might be very, very difficult. It might be very, very difficult to make those changes, therefore, because this is linked to some kind of a hurt and emotion that you are residing on, like, and it may also be hard to recognize it, because it would, as I told you yesterday, self awareness, only 10 to 15% of the population are actually self aware, though people feel that they know and they're self aware. So when you're actually going through self esteem, low self esteem, because of certain comments, because of whatever, you may not even it might happen suddenly, and you may not even recognize it, and that's where it's a challenge. And that's where it also might be very difficult for us to change it. I went through my own ups and downs in basically to understand why I feel the way I feel. I wouldn't feel very positive about myself. I was an average student in school, but over a period of time, when I started doing things, which is what is, the first day when we're talking about SS, self-sufficiency, when I started doing things, when I started realizing there are capabilities in me, when I started voicing my opinions publicly, and as you mature over a period of time, the realizations happen. And of course, it's again up to the individual how you take it and how you implement it. But I would really say the tools of meditation and doing certain things on a consistent basis help me. That is about me. But what I'm talking about here is your self-esteem, therefore, can affect so many things. Like, like and value yourself as a person, are able to make decisions and assert yourself. See, you there could be and in these one of these days I'm going to be taking a particular session on assertion itself, because there's a huge gap in the way we assert ourselves. And this definition of being able to voice our opinion irrespective of social norms is also about assertiveness. Okay, we want to say certain things, so we might be either too aggressive or we may become submissive, and that we will sort of look at it in detail. Okay, and there's a lot of training programs in corporates where you do on assertiveness skills, whether it is MNCs, and there's so many programs that I've done on assertiveness, right? So the thing that we need to recognize here is these are certain things that you need to do. Move past mistakes without blaming yourself, unfairly show kindness towards yourself, feel able to try new or difficult things. These are certain things you should finally do so that it doesn't affect your self-esteem. But what we need to understand is what happens when there is a low self-esteem, causes of it, and is it really a mental health problem? and how can we sort of uh, uh, work on it. And so the question I want to ask you here is, which one are you, and which during which states or situations or times you become one, and during what times do you become the other. And you can, it's okay, you can share it there. Is it the left one or is it the right? You can just say L or R, depending upon which is it that you are. And um, you can also type the percentage of how many times, say in a day. You can just take a day, you don't have to take a week or a month or a whatever quarterly, half yearly, yearly kind of scenario, but you can just take in a day, which one are you, and what is the number or sort of percentage that you are a left or you are a right. Adequate self-esteem or low self-esteem, what is the percentage? Have you ever assessed this? I can't decide without consulting. I decide for myself and take responsibility. If you look at it, the first day we were talking about personal responsibility, because that is linked to non-conformity. How a thriving society, one needs to be a non-conformist and also needs to take personal responsibility. So which one are you? You can, I mean, if you're comfortable, you can type that. And if you're not comfortable, you can write down in your pads, whatever notepads, digital notes, wherever, what is the percentage of the number of times in a day, work day it could be, or if you take a Saturday and or a Sunday when you're with your family, also it might lead into low self-esteem. How many times are you a left, and how many times are you the right on the slide there, right? So we need to be aware. We need to be aware. How? Because see, as I said, why I'm asking you to do this is we do not even recognize it. It can happen suddenly because of certain things, comments, whatever happening here and there, suddenly it happens. So we need to be able to start recognizing that we are getting into this zone of low self-esteem. And therefore we are feeling like this, and therefore we are not accepting ourselves, and therefore we are not being self-aware, which is just 10 to 15% of the population are actually self-aware, right? Do you see the connection? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. So what can cause low self-esteem? Okay, this is very, very important for us to recognize. Why am I asking you to recognize? I repeat, because most of the time we are not able to recognize it. When I had this problem, didn't know that I had a low self-esteem. There were things in my mind, there were negative thoughts, there were there was criticism that I would make of my own self. Sometimes I would see that I'm thinking certain things which is not right, but I would not know that I had a low self-esteem. Okay, so it is over a period of, so people say you need to go through it to understand what it is, right? So now I can say very, very clearly and openly, I can see it. When certain people are going through, I can see it, I can sense it, and that's why whatever my life coaching journey comes naturally to me in that sense, which I keep saying, right? So because I've gone through it. Okay, so the things that affect our self-esteem differ for everyone. It differs for, and we need to understand this. While I'm giving a list of things, it may not be the things because of which you have a low self-esteem. You need to therefore recognize, out of these, are these the things, or is there something else? So, slowly you're getting into the zone of yesterday's session, which is self-awareness. Okay, so the causes of self-esteem and difficult or stressful life experiences can often be a factor. Okay, and being, so these are all the factors. There is a list here, and it can even go, being bullied or abused, experiencing prejudice, discrimination, stigma, including racism, losing your job or difficulty finding employment, problems at work or while studying, ongoing stress, physical health problems, mental health problems, relationship problems, separation or divorce, worries about your appearance and body image. All of this can cause low self-esteem, problems with money or housing. One of the biggest issues that people fight for in relationships is supposed to be money, the biggest factor. Okay, but what we need to know is we don't recognize that we may have a low self-esteem because of one or more of these categories, and for each person it is different. Please understand that this is not like a generalized thing for each person. Therefore we need to be able to recognize, are we going through some of these things more than the others. Therefore we should be able to pinpoint, maybe this is the reason why, therefore leading it to getting into the 10 to 15% of the population who are self-aware, because that's the research that says, after studies, that it's only 10 to 15% of the population are actually self-aware. Okay, so causes of low self-esteem. So is low self-esteem a mental health problem really? What do you all think? What do you all think? You can either unmute and speak, or you can even write it in there. What do you all think? Is it a mental health problem or really? So Anusha says no, and whoever thinks whatever can type it out there. Is it really a mental health problem? So there are waiting for comments, but while the comments, awareness of self, Upasana says, sure, but what I'm also trying to say is, actually it's not a mental health problem, but it may lead to one. It may lead to, and if you have this for a longer period of time, if you have this for a longer sort of stage in your life, not being able to deal with it may lead to one. But as such, it is not. I mean, maybe in a day, one may feel like that here and there, looking at people, whatever that. But are you in it? And that's why I asked you to sort of, I hope, in your on your whatever digital notes, whatever, see what is the percentage of time in a day that you really feel like this. Maybe it's not really so much. So here and there, once in a while, you look at someone, feel that way, it's fine. But how much are we ruminating around it? So isn't a mental problem in itself, but they are closely linked. Because if we are in it forever, for a while, keep thinking, it will lead to feeling hopeless or worthless. And these are the one in the right are certain symptoms for us to get into those feeling low self-esteem, feeling hopeless or worthless, blaming yourself unfairly. Can't even do this, hating yourself, worrying about being unable to do things. These are certain things that are symptoms of low self-esteem. Okay, and we need to be able to recognize it, because it can happen all of a sudden without you even knowing it. And that's the reason why I'm emphasizing that when do you know it? How do you know it? You find out an assessment in a day, percentage of it. Are you feeling like this constantly? Then it may lead to, if you continuously are feeling like this for a week and months together, then there are issues which you might need help, right? Like a physical problem, mental problem also, it's more than okay to seek for help. There is this video here which I wanted to, beautiful video, which I wanted you all to see, of how people feel, what is it like to have low self-esteem, because this is something that we all go through on a day-to-day basis. Many of you might have gone through in your own way, on a day-to-day basis. And so these are people actually talking about how do they feel when they have a low self-esteem. Then what I'll do is I'll move on to telling you what you need to do. Okay, so let me just play this and tell me if you're able to see it. I mean, hear it.
Yeah, no, for me it was always from childhood. But I think as it got towards my teenage years, I think it becomes
Are you able to hear
it
it?
took over almost. I think,
Yes, no,
everyone's
maybe.
critical of themselves mostly, but it's at a point when has taken over you, and it's almost not even you anymore that's criticizing it. There's something else like fighting you on everything, every decision, every look, or it's almost like you'd put something on and you're like, you look stupid.
It was when my just way of thinking, the way that I am, when that started to take me off the path that I was going down, and then people started to wonder, like, well, actually, is he everything that we thought he was? Can he do everything that he was going to do? I know he's got 75% of the way there, but you can run a full race, but if you don't cross that line.
But did you put that pressure on yourself as well?
I think I did. I think I did.
I just don't think I'm interesting enough for people to want to be with me. Therefore, I'm not going to bother going out, and then no one invites you out. So therefore, no one wants to be with me. So I'm not going to go out, and that is just, terrible.
My low self-esteem, I think, worked to either exaggerate or cause, I'm not sure how far on the scale it goes, but to cause my depression.
There's a lack of just sort of social confidence, and I think I got to like my mid-20s, and I sort of looked back and thought, everybody else gets how to be social with each other, and I was only just doing that.
I was about 18, 19 when I first felt like actually I can talk to people. And actually I'm quite good at it actually, but for age I was like, I can't, I shouldn't, I mustn't.
Yeah.
It gets to a point where you've almost, it's almost like you've got this little enemy up here that's being critical of everything you're doing, and you can't do this, and you've just sort of, if you've given up, I think if you've just got to that point where you just say, I can't, there's just that feeling, as we've all said, of complete hopelessness.
I mean, I still maintain I'm quite lucky that I've managed to, it slipped, but I did catch it before it hit the ground, sort of thing. And now, again, awareness, being aware of it and trusting yourself.
Because your brain is so powerful that you can make yourself believe whatever you want to believe. If someone said something nice, just the smallest little compliment, I had to write it down. You could read that back when you were feeling bad and going, do you know what, there is some worth to me. I'm not this image of myself that I see when I look.
The nicest thing I've got at home is 5 or 6 little birthday cards or little notelets that people have written me, like messages out of the blue or for an occasion, and I read it back. I keep them in a drawer, and I look at them when I hit his days, or a few photos, little things, and have a good day.
You can't argue with it if it's
if
right
it's
there.
just there.
It's like,
there,
no, someone did say something though.
Yeah, so this is courtesy, of course, Mind.org, So this is, of course, it may be different for different people, but, you need to know that these are certain kind of self-esteem causes. You need to know, definitely you need to start recognizing it on a day-to-day basis. And what I would urge is, each one of you, I would request you to put a percentage of that measure on your sheets on a day-to-day basis. If there is something like that going on for a while, you might want to take help on this. Like, how can I improve it? Is some people find these ideas useful. It's not that all of this will really help you. We've dealt with certain things. Like be kind to yourself. We've talked about it, but you need to recognize, definitely for different people it is different things. So see what works for you. Okay, then finally, so there's a list of things you see here. Learn to be assertive, set yourself a challenge, talking and art therapies, build a support network, join, try to notice the good things, set yourself a challenge, find support for connected issues. So this is what I mean by find support for connected issues is to talk to, it's totally fine to take help, because we feel that, it is taboo, especially in India. And I remember Deepika Padukone and, talking about how she was depressed and how she started, then she took help, and now she runs actually a charity and an agency around that, I guess. But what I'm saying is, it's okay to take, there's nothing wrong. Okay, so it's nothing, just as we have a physical problem, there is also a mental problem, and we take this session today is focused on a lot of causes and problems that we might face, but it's important for us to remember this. Okay, so having said this, let's get into the affirmation, which is like what we can do. And so let's unmute and do this together. That will be great. The only approval I need is my own. So this is something that I was a victim of. I can tell you, for everything, I used to look for approval, either my father's approval, or once I was married, initial years, either my husband's approval, even today sometimes. But then the thing is, definitely my self-awareness levels has gone so much higher that I don't seek for that approval anymore. And we need to all get into that. And there may be instances here and there, but as I said, in a day, what is the percentage? So the only approval I need is my own. Okay. And that's how I started off the first day. And I love this quote again of Ralph's here, which I'll take this to the right. A low self-love in the parent desires that his child should repeat his character and fortune. All of us have kids, and the energy, I'm not sure if everyone here has kids, but most of us have after we're married. And for the people who don't have kids, are not married, when you get married you will have one or you may not have one. But if you do have kids, it just becomes so important for us to change first. And most of the time it's the parents who are a big issue rather than the children. And the kind of the way we feel about ourselves, that message, that energy is very beautifully, it gets absorbed by the child. So if you have a low acceptance and self-esteem, they just pick it up. You don't have to say anything, they won't listen to you. It's only with what you demonstrate, right? So that just gets absorbed. That is, child should repeat his character and fortune. That happens, they will repeat the same thing the same way. So I get so surprised with certain things that my daughter does just like the way I do, and I wonder, oh my god, she shouldn't be doing this. You don't want your children to become just a carbon copy of yours. They need to do something totally different of what you've done in your life. And right, so as that is our responsibility. So affirmation, lovely. So I would want to for us to take it, this one, do it together. I'll go as usual, 3, 2, 1, and we will put it there in the comments box or say it aloud. Okay, there is the affirmation. The only approval I need is my own, and we're going to say it thrice. Okay, so let me go, 3, 2, 1. Yes, ladies.
The only approval I need is my own.
3, 2, 1. There we go again.
The only approval I need is my own.
Once more, 3, 2, 1. There you go.
The only approval I need is my own.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I request all of you to post today's notes in all the social media platforms. And assignment is protect yourself from negative criticism. Be curious with the nature of your inner voice, because, and this will lead to yesterday's session of being more self-aware, getting into the 10 to 15% of people being self-aware. Let's increase that percentage. It's only 10 to 15% who are really self-aware. Hopefully these sessions to a certain extent will make you feel more self-aware, but it's a journey, it's a process. It's not going to happen in a day. But before that, please check whatever sessions that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Please check on percentage terms. Where are you on that? Apart from the assignments, especially today's session on self-esteem, where are you on that? How many times do you feel low, as a self-esteem? Okay. Tomorrow's session would be another part. I would either take self-compassion or I will take self-identity. I will let you all know in your WhatsApp groups when you get your mail out there. Thank you so much for joining, and see you tomorrow. And please post your notes in all the social media platforms. See you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Thank you so much, ladies. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.